Good morning, Mr. Detela.
Good morning.
I'm very glad that you could accept our invitation to speak to us at the 37th European Congress. And I can say that we are delighted to hear you because all your publications so far are in another language, so we could not really attain it. And very recently I have read a piece of your comment on Tesla's work, and I was so impressed that, of course, thanks to our friend in Slovenia, I could reach you, and here we are, you are with us. Now, in your biography, you mention that you have meditated in the caves at Arunachala. Would you please share something more about this experience?
Yes, first thanks for your kind invitation. I'm very grateful for this because this Congress is really a very deep experience, spiritual experience. About meditation, well, Ramana Maharshi's caves on the Arunachala mountain in South India, they are very famous for spiritual energy, which is still somehow enclosed in the stone of the mountain. First I read about Arunachala, about Ramana Maharshi. I read several of his books. Then I was somehow attracted to Tiruvannamalai, where this famous mountain Arunachala is. And I especially meditated in the cave named Virupaksha cave. This is the cave where Ramana Maharshi spent 17 years altogether, sitting down all the time without standing up. So at the end of this 17 years, he was not able to walk anymore. He had to learn to walk anew. So what I want to say is that Ramana Maharshi's method of meditation is spiritual insight. It's questioning who am I, going directly into the origin of one's consciousness, of one's divine consciousness. This is not some superficial consciousness, but it's really divine consciousness, and the energy which is somehow enclosed in the mountain, in the cave, all around you, helps you so that you can come much easier into that state of mind. In several minutes you are there. You are in that very deep state of mind where all these appearances of the phenomena will somehow melt down, disappear, and you are in the origin, at that state of consciousness where all the forms are somehow originating. So when you come out of the cave after several hours, you see the world. So the cave Virupaksha is quite high on the mountain, so you see the town of Tiruvannamalai deep below with the temples, far away are the fields, roads and so on. And you see how this world is emerging from that, how could I say, emerging from something which cannot be described, something without form, emerging from this primal energy, which is divine energy of the whole universe. Yes. So you are not enclosed into discrete forms, but you are in the origin of everything. So Maharshi's meditation is very direct. It goes without any loops around, directly into the soul. So this is why Maharshi is famous for. He's not speaking very much. He mainly taught in silence, and that silence, that direct energy embedded in silence, in the stones there. So this silence is speaking.
Mm-hmm. That is what the Zen masters used to call the thundering. silence.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
The speechless.
Yes,
but
yes.
Speaks so hard, so loud, and so profoundly to the heart of everyone.
Yes. Maharishi also stressed the importance of the heart, yes. The heart is the self, the God is all in the same time, but without any this superficial attribute. So he was not fond of many words.
As to human being, because we cannot estimate and value any human being, at least we come to the same level to have the estimation. But to venture, I would say that he is really exceptional in every aspect. Considering a cow like you and I, which is a very logical, because we are all sentient beings. I don't see why we have more right to exploit animals in the kingdom, many kingdoms on earth. Then out of this experience, you feel a major change in your life, or it is just a continuity of what you have been doing up to the meeting with this experience?
Well, you somehow realize that what you experience in this meditation, that has always been there. Maybe you have not seen it clearly, but it has been always there. You must somehow only awaken in that experience. It's not something new, because if it had been new, then it would be something constructed, something operational. But Maharishi is not speaking about operational words. He's speaking about this deepest source of everything. And this has been there all the time. I must say that Maharishi's method is a modern form of Advaita Vedanta, of non-duality. That means also that we don't invent anything new. What is experienced has always been there, and just because of this, it is so divine, because it is always here, and it is attainable to anyone, so anyone can realize it.
Anyone can try it.
Yes. So it's very simple in essence, very simple. But just because it's so simple, there are so many tricks made by our mind to evade this experience.
Yes. One thing that is remarkable, the experience that you have lived in the caves, and I to some extent have lived it also when I visited his room. It was something flowing something, and very strangely, or not strangely, depending from what angle you are looking, the same experience happened to me in Tibet. We're in the cave of Padmasambhava, in the cave of Ashita. I mean, it is so you can feel that there is the testimony of universality to mysticism. Now, leading this to this subject, what do you think? Mysticism, for me, seems very obvious to take over in future, to make consciousness evolve. This is a way. What do you think about the development of mysticism in the human mind in the future? First, second, would it be the way to save, so to say, humanity, which is now shrinking into matter?
Yes, it's a very complex question. I shall try to answer to these sub-questions. Well, first about relation between Maharshi's meditation and Buddhist meditation in Tibet. I think that they are not so different. Advaita Vedanta, which, the most famous philosopher and teacher of Advaita Vedanta was Shankaracharya from the 8th century. That was just after the first decline of Buddhism in India. So Shankaracharya, he incorporated the best ideas of Buddhism into Hindu religion.
Yeah.
And so Advaita Vedanta is somehow fusion of Buddhism and Hinduism. So these two are not very different. All two go directly into the source without any burdens. We know that Buddhism is also very simple, without all those gods and so on. So there are bodhisattvas, but these are not gods in the usual sense. I meditated also a lot in different Buddhist groups, and I realized that these meditations are very similar. They can be fused together. About what can we do in the modern world about development of mind, of consciousness. Well, I think really, truly, we are living very special period. The world is very confused, very materialistic. Greed is everywhere, acting through economy, through financial system. So there are so many people who are quite assured that the world of numbers of finances is quite enough for everything, that we don't need anything more. So spirituality is somehow only on some marginal position. Well, but in my country, I think it's also in other countries, I realize that there is a growing number of people that are developing another kind of world. So this is still a minority, but this minority is becoming more and more aware of the real problems of our time. And maybe there are 10% of such people in European countries, maybe, especially among young people. And these people are very interested in spiritual matters, are very aware of the problem of the so-called neoliberal economy, of this financial totalitarian system. So they are aware that we are aware that we cannot be free, we cannot find any spiritual freedom and moksha, liberation, without resort to this spiritual experience. So we are aware that yesterday in Champ de Mars there was a young man running and shouting, "Money is not everything, money is not everything." So there are more and more such people who know. Well, many of them they're aware of this quite superficially, but if you want to do something, to help all sentient beings, you must go quite deeper into this experience. You must strive, you must take some work with this. Because each one of us has something to do in this world, some divine work to be done, and to discover what's what's
your
given.
dharma.
Yes, your karma is given. Dharma, yes, dharma. Thank you. What's given to you to discover it, you must strive for many, many years, and this is the process lasting the whole life. About the modern situation in the world, I think that I should speak about it in today's lecture. I think that we are on the merge of discovery a new concept of time. There was circular time, especially in Asian countries. Time going in periodicity of time, periodic time. And in Judeo-Christian tradition, we have linear time. So there is still some opposition between these two concepts. But I think now, as I observe the modern world, I feel that these two concepts are somehow fusing together into totally new perception of time. So that the time is neither linear nor periodic, but somehow permeating the whole spiritual space in all directions, and we can move totally free in time. Linear time was invented thousands of years ago because of fear. People were afraid of the present situation on the earth, and they want to go out of this into some heaven, maybe they wanted to evade the suffering in this world. But I think that today we have developed so beautiful, so wonderful means of survival, even with the development of science, if we understand it correctly, in spiritual way. Then we can be aware that we don't have any need to fear. Yes, because we can provide for our survival so easily. We have so many beautiful, we have electricity, we have so many machines that even don't need to be very complicated. They may be quite simple, but with all this, we have so much alleviated our life, even in the cold part of the world.
In a way, humanity is kind of a child wanting to play a game to make itself afraid and play with it in a way.
Yes. So, yeah.
But I fully agree with you that this, you can see the might of consciousness working through the mind when you see, for example, Columbia flying in space. You can see, for example, Airbus 380 taking off. It really shows the power of inventiveness. It is the power of consciousness.
Yes.
How is it that humanity, a human mind, could not be successful to get humanity out of the maze of egoism? Because all the inventions are still in the field of work of the mind. Now, egoism is really perhaps to strengthen one particular part or something. How is it that there is no among human beings? We're not talking about the seers, perhaps. They give us some open doors. For millennia, still humanity is still at the same place. Situation.
Yes. It's nearly still at the same place. I have read scientific articles about real development. There is a slow development, much slower than we think in our illusions, but there is a little less of aggression today than it was 2,000 years ago, a little less. Thousands of years ago, 20% of people died from violence. Now, few percent only. It's still too much, but maybe there is some progress, so we can hope that humanity will attain a certain maturity, and I hope that it will come soon, because if it doesn't come soon, we can ruin ourselves. And it's what's happening today is a great warning. I have been in Japan several times. I visited also the Hiroshima Memorial Museum of the atom bomb. And I was crying there because I realized how little humans have learned from that. There was a terrible explosion there, and as one state, it was the United States, they defeated Japan. Okay, they defeated Japan, but they make some great idea from this, some myth from this, and this myth is still going on, so that one country is has power above the whole world, and this is total nonsense. This power over others, this is total nonsense. So as long as we keep to this idea of power, this idea is fueled by fear. Yes. On one side there is fear, on another side there is aggression, violence, greed.
We know what's still going on, meaning that the greatest weapon for politicians, the greatest weapons is rumor. To spread the rumor, and then it runs by itself, and then people are completely manipulated, and it's repeating the story. The history is made like that, and then 100 years later we discover this and this, and it's done. So I mean
So education is very important here, because if people were more educated, then they would not vote for such leaders. And
have the courage to say no.
It's very important that people learn to discern between truth and lie.
Yes.
And most people are very superficial in this.
Absolutely. Naive, superficial, wanting to be led and not think by themselves. This is the greatest curse, not to want to think for oneself and by oneself. Yes. Now this leads to this perhaps very profound and metaphysical subject that you have touched upon, that is time. Many philosophers touch about it, and more recently Krishnamurti. He talked extensively about this and explained it, finally ended up to this supposition that really time does not exist. Well, we feel that. What do you have to place a comment on it?
Yes. I'm a physicist. Krishnamurti had a very good friend who was also a physicist. He was David Bohm. And they had many dialogues on the meaning of time. They together published even a book, The Ending of Time is the title.
Yes, yes.
I have read that book with great care. I must say that I mainly agree with Krishnamurti, but I have found some details that I could add to this picture. Well, Krishnamurti, with David Bohm, who was very respectful of Krishnamurti. We know that David Bohm was a quantum physicist. In quantum physics, there is totally different concept of time. Time does not exist on the quantum level in the sense as we perceive it on the classical level. We know very little how time is working on the subtle level. From the study of quantum physics, I came to know that there is still some meaning of time, even on the quantum level, but totally differently as it is on the classical level. But we still don't know how that time is. Maybe we shall discover someday. Maybe we shall, with the evolution of our consciousness, get into touch with that perception of time. So I'm working in this direction. Well, Krishnamurti was a lot under influence of Vedanta philosophy. There is no time in Vedanta philosophy because in the old Indian philosophy, there was Satya Yuga at the beginning, the golden age, and from then only there was nothing new, because the bad things, the phenomena of truth, all of them happened in Satya Yuga, and so time didn't have some very profound meaning in Indian philosophy. Ramana Maharshi, whom I mentioned before, he was asked about time too. And he said that he gave a very good parable with a top, spinning top, you know, that toy that
yes.
children use.
Yes.
He said spinning top. Mm-hmm. He said the top apparently stands still just because it's turning so quickly. What's the meaning of this? Apparently there is no time, so because the time is so full of meaning, if we understand all that meaning, deeper meaning, which is happening in time, then we somehow fuse all the directions of time together, and we get to that total stillness in time.
Yes.
But in that stillness, there is still very profound and very intense action.
This is very near what Plato said
Yes.
a little bit later, that time is just movement of eternity.
Yes.
I mean, there's no time, it is one aspect of eternity. And we are so unaware of this.
Yes.
And this unawareness created troubles for us.
Yes. So only illuminated people understand this. Also many points, for instance, Marina Tsvetaeva, a Russian poet, a woman, she said quite similar thing, that what we can give to this world is not something which is happening this time, but we somehow import eternity, that it functions in this world. And this is what...
certainly solving the problem outside of the problem, but not repeating another scheme of the problem.
Yes. So physics needs space and time. It's founded on this four-dimensional world of space and time. So this is the world of phenomena. I said that we know very little, practically nothing, about that deeper functioning of the world on the quantum level. So I think that time is something quite precious, something that we don't need to be afraid of. But we can be, what is up to us is to become free in time, so that we understand that time is moving in all directions, and that we don't need to push in any of these directions, so that we can really serve the world from what there is. Not through some
concepts.
Some concepts, yes.
But to flow with time. It is a very Taoist, very Taoist thinking, meaning that everything is natural, and let ourselves flow with this movement, with this Tao.
In India, there is a sacred tree called Ashwatha tree, with roots going from the branches down into the earth. So this tree is growing its branches in both directions, upwards towards the heaven, and downwards toward the underground. And so this tree is somehow symbolic for both directions of time. When these both directions of time are fused together, we get this sacred human existence on our earth. And then we are totally liberated. We can quiet and without fear, without aggression.
I'm going to ask you a stupid question with the expectation that you give intelligent answer. Do you believe in humanity?
Yes, in spite of everything that we can read in newspapers, see on TV, in spite of this, I believe, yes.
It gives great hope.
Why do I believe? Because I'm working quite hard in positive direction, I hope so. And I cannot do in any other way except of this belief, because this is the only what remains. I don't have time to be discouraged.
Even though it is called the forlorn hope.
Well, I'm detached of this or that, but I'm still optimistic, I can say. Well,
positively?
Yes.
Sure, but if we don't believe in an enterprise or a project, we cannot fulfill it. So this kind of belief of the one who endeared himself to the hope or the enterprise. But looking through it via a very philosophical view, meaning that what do you think about this phenomenon which is called humanity? It is just a phenomenon. We are part of it, but it is just a phenomenon in the universe.
Well, there are many sentient beings in the universe, and I share this Buddhist belief that we can be very happy that we have been incarnated in human form. Well, we could be maybe a worm, maybe some plant, but we can contribute so much more to development of spiritual development of everything which is alive if we are in our human body. So it's very great. This is a blessing to be in a human body, and we must make the best from our life in this body.
Exactly. Well, these words, let these words be the temporary conclusion to our dialogue here. And thank you so much for your availability to answer to those questions. And then I would say to you, we are looking towards the same direction. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.